I couldn't imagine myself doing what I do now, because growing up during the revolution in China in the early 70s, or late 60s, early 70s, one of the most dangerous career to choose will be to write. And my father was a playwright. And of course, he definitely advised me, he said, well, writing is probably the most dangerous thing because you will put something on the ink and it'll never fade, because that's how good the Chinese rice ink is. And I think by saying that, he means something else. And it is, it's especially even to this day in China, if you really, truly got good writers who has a conscience, writers who write from heart, are subject to enormous amount of pressure and subject to very, very lengthy prison stay. And I'm being truthful. This is not a. I know that China has improved quite a bit, and of course it's overwhelming the world with this economic prosperity. 85% of the goods you buy in Walmart, if you have been to Walmart lately, maybe 95% now, are made in China. Walmart single-handedly import $18 billion worth of products from China. And but that thing you can do to express the human desires, express what is truthful and soulful, what is compelling, what is poignant to humanity, that is being suppressed. And it's to this day, if I go home and write the novel that I want to write about the government, about the people, about the state of affairs in China, it'll still be a very, very dangerous job. So, and how do I come to? I came to America. They always like to say that, and which is true. Came with $38 and my bamboo flute, and of course the brush calligraphy. The two things I always brought with me wherever I go. The bamboo flute is something my father taught me how to play when I was a little boy growing up in a very isolation of a small village, where you have to learn how to entertain yourself in addition to trying to catch crabs in a muddy rivers and getting your hand caught in a hole, or try to how to learn to ride on the back of a buffalo. I want to do something, so my father taught me how to play the flute, and I always bring that. It's very slender. You could always squeeze in one last item, and the brush calligraphy, where I do brush calligraphy. My grandfather taught me how to do that, and I think I never really thought about that until I realized that these are the only legacies they had for me. They all passed away. Many other things, but these are the only concrete things. And these are the things that sort of make me who I am today. I love music, and I love to write, to read, and all that. And then coming to America, actually, my first stop was in Lincoln, Nebraska, in a college called Union College. It's a religious school run by Seventh-day Adventist Church. And people were very nice. They gave me a scholarship to go teach some Chinese, and while pursuing a degree in Lincoln, Nebraska. I love the little city, actually. It's not little either. You should see the city when the Cornhuskers are playing. It's swimming with redness. It's quite a treat for an author or a future author to see, you know. Literally everywhere, people will just, the red leaves. It's like the red leaves now shimmering in the foliage of beautiful Albany, right? So I went there, and then as a good Chinese son would do, I pursued my concrete career. I applied to law school. I was advised by a local, very, very prominent Lincoln lawyer who was a tax advisor to Governor Curry. at that time, and I served him. I worked as a Chinese as a waiter for a Chinese restaurant, and to try to make buy my first bike, eventually buy my first car, yeah, used car. And I served him every lunch, every day, and then he would say, you know what, you really speak very good English. You should really think about law school. And that was the first time I actually thought of, like, oh, there's law school. And I said, well, law school, because law school is something that seems very political. In China, all the lawyers are Chinese communist members. You have to be, they are the government lawyers. Government, they represent law enforcement, they represent the law. So it sounds very serious. You have to be a Republican or Democratic probably before you could do that. And he said, no, actually, it's just a regular academic pursuit. So I applied to law school, and fortunately, I was offered a full scholarship, and I took the LSAT. I think I was late for 5 minutes for the test, but I scored pretty well nonetheless, and I got into a few schools, and then came to New York, to Columbia. And I work, afterwards I work not as a lawyer, even though I have a license to practice the law, but I work as an investment banker in mergers and acquisitions. Yeah, don't hold it against me. It sounds very grandiose, but actually it's not. And that's what it is. You spend your days and you talk about, yes, I'm in a very big deal and I'm doing part of a very big deal, but what do you do? What do you do? When my friends ask me, and I say, I don't know, I do a lot of copying. Yeah, I carry a lot of documents. It's very important documents, know what they are. And then at some point, there's I don't know, I think you couldn't quite escape who you are, and especially the family, that tradition. From my great-grandfather on. My great-grandfather was a Jingshi. Jingshi was I think the rank of an earl, probably, in a dynasties. But he earned it, not by blood, but by his achievement. He took part in a royal civil servants test that was held every 6 years. This is how the court, the emperor, select his officials. And by holding the examinations first at county level, then at the provincial level, and then at the national level, it's very much like an Olympics in a way, or a beauty pageant. And my great-grandfather, and this is something that all the able, the most ambitious young people, young men mainly, would do during those dynasties. This is, if you want to do your family good, if you want to redeem all the failures and whatever it is, this is what you do. You go take the test and excel on it. And my great-grandfather failed twice. On the third try, which is 18 years later, in his mid-30s, his children were already teenagers. He excelled it. He was number one in his county, and then he went on to be number one in his province. And then he was selected finally to go to Beijing at that time to take the final national test within the Forbidden City. He walked it took him 3 months to travel all the way up there to Beijing from southern part of China, Fujian province. And he brought with him a merchant donate the service of an ink boy who carried his papers and his ink and everything to go to to Beijing to take the test. And the test lasts for 7 days within the Forbidden City. He was given a little kiosk, little booth, where he would sleep in there for 7 days, eat there. Food will be fed to you, and his ink boy will be grinding the ink for him. And he will be writing furiously, and there's a scroll. I mean, nowadays I would imagine people write on computers and you could delete whatever you don't want, right? But no, this one, once you're done, you put on what your thoughts is, you can't be changed. And that year, the subject, he was given one subject to write an essay on. And within this essay, you have to be able to combine all the knowledge you have acquired. Poetry, literature, history, politics, philosophy, religion, anything you learn, anything from the very beginning to the very end, and your calligraphy finally in the final presentation. And this scroll and this ink boy will be pulling the scroll for you, and you do. And he did well. He did not number one, not number two. There was only one number one. This number one person is called Zhuang Yuan, who usually end up marrying emperor's daughter if the timing works out well. Usually there's a lot of Chinese drama written about these guys who always lie about their hidden marriage in the village and marry emperor's daughter. And then as all the morality dramas were, they always end up having their head chopped because they lied to the emperor about their wife. But anyway, but there's also a second one for second place who will become an emperor's consultant, and one for the third place. But my great-grandfather fall under number 4 category. But there are 100 within number 1 category. This is where all the officials, provincial, district officials were selected. So as a result of that, he was given the mandate by the emperor to go back to his province to become the governor of Putian. So our family became, that's therefore started the tradition of a scholarly official thing that runs in a family. And then my grandfather was a poet, and that's where I think the blood really sort of runs. Yeah.